Britain has been shaken to its core. In a moment that felt impossible just minutes ago, breaking news erupted across every screen in the country. Keir Starmer taken into custody, surrounded by flashing lights, stunned officers, and a wave of shock that rippled from London to the very edges of the nation. No warnings, no hints. Just a sudden, explosive turn that left millions speechless. The atmosphere didn't just change, it detonated. The news broke like a thunderclap. 1 minute, people were going about their ordinary evening routines. The next, every phone in the country buzzed with the same unbelievable alert. Sirens, blue lights, and a swarm of reporters filled the streets as footage emerged showing Keir Starmer being escorted by authorities. The entire country came to a standstill. Houses fell silent, pubs stopped mid-conversation, offices erupted in confusion. No one understood what they were seeing. And yet the images were right there, raw, chaotic, impossible to ignore. Within seconds, television networks cut into regular programming with urgent banners stretching across the entire screen. Presenters, usually calm and polished, stumbled over their words as they tried to describe what was happening. Their voices carried the disbelief of millions. Social media exploded at lightning speed, hashtags surged, theories spun, and people scrambled to piece together how events had escalated to this level. It felt like the political ground beneath Britain had split open without warning. In Westminster, panic spread instantly. MPs rushed into corridors, some in shock, others demanding answers that no one had yet found. Phones rang non-stop inside government offices as ministers, advisors and officials tried desperately to understand the situation. Confusion ruled every room. Even those closest to Starmer seemed blindsided, their faces tense, their whispers sharp, their movements frantic. The entire political establishment looked like it had been thrown into chaos by a single devastating moment. But perhaps the most chilling detail was how sudden it all felt. There had been no public hints, no rumours loud enough to predict anything like this. Starmer had been seen earlier in the day, appearing calm, focused, and completely unaware of the storm that was brewing. And now, just hours later, Britain was watching one of the most dramatic events in modern political memory unfold live across every platform. People weren't just shocked, they were shaken to their core. Outside, large crowds quickly formed near key locations, driven not by anger, but by the need to witness history unfolding. Some stood in disbelief, others demanded explanations. Everyone wanted answers that no one yet had. The atmosphere was electric, thick with uncertainty, fear, and a sense that something enormous had just changed forever. News vans lined the streets, helicopters circled above, commentators spoke rapidly, and police struggled to control the growing chaos. And as the footage replayed again and again, Starmer surrounded, officers guiding him forward, lights bursting across the night. One terrifying realisation settled into the mind of the nation. Whatever this was, whatever it meant, Britain had just crossed into a moment that would be remembered for decades. This wasn't politics as usual. This wasn't another debate or scandal. This was something far more explosive, something that had already shaken the foundations of power. The world was watching, Britain was holding its breath, and the story was only just beginning. As the images of Keir Starmer's arrest spread, Westminster plunged into a state of shock and confusion, unlike anything seen in recent memory. MPs halted their business, conversations stopped mid-sentence, and the usually busy corridors fell into an eerie silence filled with whispered speculation. Government officials scrambled to contact security teams and intelligence sources, desperate to understand what had led to this extraordinary event. The arrest wasn't just unexpected, it was unprecedented. Inside Parliament, tension mounted rapidly. Labour MPs, many visibly shaken, gathered in urgent meetings behind closed doors. Some refused to believe what they were seeing, others feared the worst. The opposition benches, where Starmer once stood as a strong figurehead, now felt hollow and uncertain. Allies debated how to respond, torn between loyalty and the harsh reality of the situation. Could they stand behind their leader now? Was the party about to implode? Meanwhile, across the political divide, rival parties moved quickly to seize the moment. Statements flowed in, ranging from cautious calls for calm to sharp criticisms questioning Starmer's judgment and integrity. Some suggested that the arrest raised serious concerns about leadership and trustworthiness. Others called for full investigations and accountability. The political battlefield had shifted instantly, and no one could predict what the fallout would be. Journalists and political analysts flooded every news platform, dissecting every available detail. But information was scarce, and official statements were slow to arrive, heightening the suspense. Reporters pieced together bits of the story from anonymous sources, government leaks, and eyewitness accounts. The narrative began to form, but so many questions remained unanswered. What was Starmer accused of? Who ordered the arrest? Was this part of a larger conspiracy or a genuine investigation? The air was thick with uncertainty and growing fear. Social media was ablaze. Citizens, commentators, and political enthusiasts flooded feeds with theories, demands for transparency, and heated debates. The hashtag Starmer arrest trended worldwide within minutes. Many expressed disbelief, others called for justice, and across the country, conversations turned from shock to worry. What did this mean for the future of Britain's government? Could the country survive such a sudden political earthquake? Inside Labour's headquarters, the mood darkened as the news continued to unfold. Staff worked frantically to manage the crisis, drafting statements, contacting allies, and preparing for the worst. The leader they had supported so strongly now faced the ultimate test, one that went far beyond political attacks or scandals. The arrest cast a long shadow, threatening not only Starmer's career, but the future of the party itself. As the night deepened, the nation remained glued to their screens, anxiously awaiting the next developments. No one could predict how this crisis would end. But one thing was clear: the political landscape of Britain had just been shattered, and the ripples would be felt for a long time to come. As the news of Starmer's arrest reverberated, Labour's inner circle found themselves engulfed in chaos. Senior advisers and MPs gathered urgently, some in shock, others visibly angry or confused. The sense of disbelief was overwhelming. How had things escalated so quickly? Meetings ran late into the night, voices raised in frustration, urgent phone calls made to try piece together the truth behind the shocking event. The party, once united behind its leader, was now fractured and uncertain. Behind closed doors, questions swirled. Was the arrest justified? Was it politically motivated? Or was it part of a deeper, hidden conflict? The answers were elusive. Staff scrambled to prepare official responses, but every statement felt like walking on thin ice. They faced the impossible task of defending their leader while confronting an unfolding crisis that threatened to consume him and them all. The pressure was crushing. Whispers of resignation circulated quietly among some MPs, their confidence shaken. Others clung to hope, calling for calm and faith in due process. But the division was clear. The once solid foundation beneath Starmer's leadership now cracked under the weight of suspicion and fear. The party's future seemed uncertain, hanging precariously as the hours dragged on. The media frenzy showed no signs of slowing. Every detail, every rumour, every official denial or confirmation was analysed and dissected with ruthless intensity. Reporters chased sources, digging for information on the charges, the investigation, and what Starmer's arrest meant for the government. The story dominated headlines, talk shows, and social media, capturing the full attention of a nation hungry for answers. Meanwhile, political rivals sharpened their attacks. Opposition parties called for urgent inquiries and demanded full transparency. They painted the arrest as proof of a leader unfit to hold office, questioning Starmer's credibility and his ability to lead in such turbulent times. Their words struck hard, adding fuel to the fire and deepening the crisis further. Amid this chaos, public opinion began to shift. Supporters of Starmer struggled with disbelief, unsure whether to defend him or question what had happened. Many citizens felt betrayed or confused, watching their country's leadership unravel before their eyes. The trust that had once anchored political discourse was now slipping away, replaced by suspicion and fear. As dawn approached, Labour's headquarters resembled a war room. The air thick with tension, the stakes higher than ever. No one knew what the next hours would bring, but one thing was certain. The arrest of Keir Starmer was more than a headline. It was a turning point that could change Britain's political future forever. Across Britain, the news of Keir Starmer's arrest sparked a wave of shock and confusion that rippled through every community. People stopped what they were doing, gathering around radios, televisions and smartphones, struggling to process what they had just learned. Conversations in homes, cafes and workplaces shifted instantly from everyday topics to the overwhelming question, what does this mean for our country? Many struggled to believe the reality unfolding before their eyes. Starmer, once seen as a steady, determined leader, now found himself at the centre of a scandal that few could have imagined. For supporters, the news was a crushing blow, a betrayal of trust and hope. For critics, it was validation of suspicions they had long held but never voiced so openly. Across the political spectrum, uncertainty reigned. Social media became a battleground of opinions and emotions. Some expressed outrage and demanded answers. Others warned against jumping to conclusions, urging patience until the full facts were known. Yet fear and suspicion grew with every passing minute. Memes and hashtags exploded, but beneath the noise lay a deeper anxiety about what the arrest meant for the stability of the nation. In workplaces, people debated fervently. Could this arrest destabilise the government? Would it trigger a political crisis? What impact would it have on the economy, international relations, and the daily lives of ordinary citizens? The questions were endless and few had answers. The mood was tense, uncertain, and charged with a sense of impending change. Meanwhile, protests and gatherings began to appear in major cities. Some were peaceful, driven by demands for transparency and justice. Others carried a heavier tension, with voices raised in anger and frustration. Police worked to maintain order, but the unrest was a clear sign of how deeply the arrest had unsettled the nation. The streets echoed with calls for accountability and truth. Journalists on the ground captured the raw emotions of citizens, fear, anger, confusion, and a desperate need for clarity. The arrest wasn't just a political story anymore. It had become a national crisis touching every aspect of life. People wanted answers, they wanted stability, and above all, they wanted their country's future to be secure. As the day unfolded, the feeling among many was that Britain was standing at a crossroads. The arrest of Keir Starmer had not only shattered political calm, but had also exposed vulnerabilities in the nation's leadership and institutions. What came next would define the country for years to come, and no one could predict where this storm would lead. As the shock of Keir Starmer's arrest settled, the nation faced a critical question: what happens now? The immediate aftermath was marked by silence from official channels, fueling rumours and deepening uncertainty. Government spokespeople remained tight-lipped, refusing to confirm or deny details, leaving the public grasping for any shred of clarity in a sea of confusion. This silence only intensified the pressure on everyone involved, from politicians to ordinary citizens. Inside Labour, the atmosphere was one of urgent crisis management. Leaders worked tirelessly to contain the damage, but the reality was clear. The party's unity was fracturing. Supporters demanded answers and reassurance, while critics within and outside Labour questioned the future direction of the party. The possibility of a leadership change, once unthinkable, was now openly discussed. The internal struggle for control grew more intense by the hour. Across Westminster, politicians prepared for what could become one of the most turbulent political seasons in modern history. Opposition parties sharpened their strategies, ready to capitalise on Labour's chaos. Allies sought to distance themselves from the unfolding controversy, careful to avoid being caught in the storm. The balance of power felt fragile, teetering on the edge of uncertainty. Public trust, already fragile, took a serious hit. Many Britons expressed feelings of betrayal and frustration, wondering how such a crisis could develop without warning. Calls for transparency, reform and accountability echoed louder than ever. Citizens demanded a political system that could withstand shocks and protect the nation's stability. The arrest was more than a scandal. It was a wake-up call. As investigations continued behind closed doors, speculation about that the charges against Starmer ran rampant. Every leaked detail sparked fresh waves of debate and concern. The legal process promised to be lengthy and complicated, and the nation braced itself for months, if not years, of political upheaval and uncertainty. Yet amid the turmoil, one thing remained certain. Britain had entered a new chapter. The arrest of Keir Starmer wasn't just a headline, it was a historic moment that would reshape politics, challenge loyalties and test the resilience of the country. How this story unfolds could redefine the future of leadership in Britain, and the consequences would be felt far beyond the walls of Westminster. For now, the country watches, waits and wonders. The political earthquake has struck. The shockwaves will continue to ripple, and the next chapter in this gripping saga is just beginning.